Some houses don't let go of the people who live inside them. They remember every word, every scream, every face pressed against their walls. This is the story of the house on Holloway Street, the house where my grandmother died, the house I swore I would never return to, but I went back. And what I found there never left me. I should never have gone back. But sometimes the past calls in a voice too sharp to ignore. It was late autumn when I returned to Holloway Street, a place I hadn't set foot in since I was a child. The row of terraced houses was still there, sagging like broken teeth, their windows staring blankly into the fog. Number 19 had been my grandmother's house. She died in that house. They said of natural causes, but I remembered otherwise. Even as a child, I knew the house was wrong. The wallpaper bled with damp patterns that looked too much like faces. The stairs groaned like someone whispering through rotted wood. At night, I'd hear footsteps in the hall when everyone else was asleep. Now, 20 years later, I was unlocking the same front door. The key turned the smell hit first, mildew, dust, and something coppery beneath it. The air was heavy, stale, and then came the sound, the low, hollow thud, like someone knocking faintly beneath from inside the walls. I told myself it was the pipes. Old houses do that. Old houses settle, creak, sigh. But as I stepped into the hall, I saw it again. The wallpaper, still the same faded green with little white flowers. But the damp stains had spread, larger, darker, curling into shapes unmistakably human. Faces, not painted, not printed, formed, dozens of them, pressed beneath the paper, as though the walls themselves were remembering every face that had ever lived or died here. I should have left, but I was drawn further in. The living room still had the old armchair where my grandmother used to sit, her knitting basket at her side. But the yarn was gone, replaced by something else, a long tangled mess of hair, black, matted, pulled into the basket as though someone had been collecting it. I froze when I noticed the armchair cushion was indented, sagging, as though someone had just risen from it. That was when the air shifted. The knock from the walls became louder, urgent, pounding now. The faces in the wallpaper seemed to swell, mouths opening, and then I heard it. A voice. My grandmother's voice. Why did you come back? I should have left, but I was drawn further in. The living room still had the old armchair where my grandmother used to sit, her knitting basket at her side. But the yarn was gone, replaced by something else, a long tangled mess of hair, black, matted, pulled into the basket as though someone had been collecting it. I froze when I noticed the armchair cushion was indented, sagging, as though someone had just risen from it. That was when the air shifted. The knock from the walls became louder, urgent, pounding now. The faces in the wallpaper seemed to swell, mouths opening, and then I heard it. A voice. My grandmother's voice. Why did you come back? I couldn't move, couldn't even scream. Then the indent on the bed shifted, slowly turning, as though whatever lay there was rolling to face me. The blanket tightened, pulling taut, stretching over a shape that wasn't there. A handprint pressed against the fabric, another, fingers straining, reaching outward. And then the covers tore open. I didn't wait to see what came out. I fled, crashing back down the stairs, out through the front door. The fog outside felt like salvation, even as the door slammed shut behind me, with a sound like the house exhaling. I didn't look back. I couldn't. But sometimes, in the dead hours of night, when the walls of my own home creak and whisper, I hear her voice again, and I know that the house on Holloway Street hasn't finished with me yet. I thought leaving the house would be the end of it, but leaving only seemed to open a door I could never close. That night, when I finally made it home, I noticed something strange. The smell followed me, that same heavy mixture of mildew, dust, and copper. It clung to my clothes, soaked into my hair, as though the house itself had exhaled me into the world. I burned the clothes. I scrubbed my skin raw under scalding water. But the smell never left, and then came the noises. At first, just faint creaks at night, floorboards groaning in empty rooms, whispers when the house should have been silent. But soon I heard it clearer, the same hollow thud I'd heard at Holloway Street, the knocking. Only this time, it was coming from the walls of my own home. I tore at the plaster, desperate to find the source, but there was nothing inside, no pipes, no infestation, only darkness. And then I saw it, in the faint light of my lamp, a shadow stretched across the wall, a human face pressed flat against it, straining as though something was inside trying to push through. I backed away, heart hammering, and that was when I heard her again. My grandmother, closer this time, whispering just behind my ear. You shouldn't have come back. I froze. The air thickened, and the shadow on the wall began to smile. I stopped sleeping. Every night the knocking grew louder, the faces clearer. They weren't just in the walls anymore. I saw them in the mirror, reflections standing behind me when I was alone, mouths moving silently, as if they were speaking to each other, but never to me, until one night they did. All at once, the walls of my bedroom pulsed, the faces swelled outward, mouths gaping wide, and in a single voice, layered and broken, they whispered, "We remember you." My blood ran cold, because it wasn't just my grandmother's face in the wall anymore. It was mine. I don't know when the boundary broke, when the house on Holloway Street stopped being a place and became a presence. But now it follows me everywhere. When I sit at the kitchen table, I hear the steady creak of the armchair from her living room. When I walk down my hallway, the wallpaper ripples, as though faces press just beneath the paint. And sometimes, in the stillness before dawn, I feel the weight of something invisible lowering itself onto my bed, sinking the mattress beside me. The house has learned to breathe inside my walls, and it waits. It waits for me to sleep. It waits for me to weaken. It waits to take me back. The house hasn't finished with me, and maybe it never will, because some doors, once opened, can never be shut again. And when the walls start to whisper in your own home, you'll know it's already too late. If you want to hear more stories like this, join me in the dark again. Subscribe so you don't miss the next tale, and let me know in the comments. Have you ever heard something moving inside your walls?